leading the charge to make the 2024 Broker Carrier Summit possible, and we are so excited to have their support. In case you haven't heard, TAFS offers much more than freight factoring. It provides a comprehensive support system for trucking companies of all sizes, specializing in fast and efficient invoice factoring with the ability to pay carriers in as little as 1 hour. And TAFS services go well beyond factoring, offering a fuel card that unlocks major fuel discounts, flexible business loans that are designed to cater to the distinct needs of a carrier's operations, a dedicated, responsive client experience team, and much more. Black Box Logistics is a 3PL freight brokerage based out of Birmingham, Alabama. Black Box Logistics was formed in 2020 by 3 friends, Logan Dyer, William Graves, and Will Hopkins, in a basement office with the goal of bringing transparency around the clock communication and hassle-free customer experience to the table. LoadBase is a logistics software solution that simplifies the process of tracking carriers. Multi-service fuel card, the industry's first fuel card, was created by an over-the-road truck driver in 1978 to offer a safe, simple, and cost-effective way to handle fuel and trucking expenses. Initially, it addressed safety concerns of carrying cash on the road. Today, it combats advanced fraud with best-in-class technical and personal support. Sales-CRM is built for freight broker and agent sales teams. Manage your shipper prospecting and follow-ups. Organize your carriers in the lanes they run. HD Ships is a leading logistics provider specializing in sustainable and tech-driven freight solutions. With hubs in Reno, Phoenix, and London, we deliver comprehensive services, including full truckload, expedited cross-border, and intermodal freight. Leveraging proprietary technology, we offer 24/7 tracking, real-time visibility, and advanced automation to ensure safe, compliant, and efficient transportation. Our commitment to sustainability enables clients to offset emissions through carbon credits, aligning logistics with environmental goals. At HD Ships, we prioritize transparency, reliability, and exceptional customer service, empowering clients to achieve seamless, sustainable logistics solutions worldwide.
Happy Friday.
Yeah, happy Friday. How's it going?
Doing good, doing good. It feels weird to be doing a show at 10 a.m. Obviously, I'm in Reno, so I'm on Pacific time, but it's the earliest I've ever done a show. But it's gonna be fun. I'm excited.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's 12 for me, but yeah, we're usually rolling in around 3 p.m. on Fridays. So it's late.
Yeah, I like this time though. Great way to get the day started. Well, shout out to our sponsors, Multi-Service Fuel Card. Been around since 1978. They have some new stuff coming out recently. I know we just had a meeting with them. Check out their page. Jessica, Patricia, great people over there.
Yeah, we should be announcing some stuff related to what they have coming out on the Two Dogs page. So stay posted on there as well. Then we've got Black Box Logistics, my company, freight brokerage based out of Birmingham, Alabama. We are hiring if anybody is in the Birmingham or Alabama area and is looking to get into brokerage. We've got load base tracking platform. I demoed it a couple of weeks ago. What I really like about load base, it's real-time visuals, whereas a lot of the tracking software out there today, it's pinging on 10, 15-minute intervals. Load base is real time, so you can get those live updates, which can be very important, especially on urgent or high value loads.
Yeah, 100%. HG ships. I'm at our offices right now in one of the conference rooms. We recruit agents if you're looking to be an agent. Love to chat. Sales Dash, our dog of the week, the OG original sponsor of the show. Freight specific CRM, great product. Will's company uses it. Some of our agents use it. Not enough good things to say about Sales Dash.
Yeah, great platform. And then we've got our banner sponsor, Taft's Factoring Company based out of Missouri. All around great people. They do a really good job of providing educational content. So if you're interested in swapping factoring companies or really simply learning more about how it all works, I would highly encourage everybody to check out their website, reach out to Rob or Ryan.
Yeah, 100%. I got to see Ryan at Manifest. They got a lot of big things coming up, and just great overall company. Speaking of Manifest, Will and I kind of always joke. We don't schedule our guests for our show probably as well in advance as we should. And going to Manifest, I knew I'd probably find someone, and I ran into Lance and Clay, and just really genuine, good guys. And I know their products. So I was like, they'd be the perfect people to ask, and they were willing to accommodate us on short notice, and excited to talk some Reefer LTL and learn a little bit about their backgrounds, and it should be fun.
Yeah, 100%. This is an area I don't know a whole bunch about. As you know, Matt, Black Box is primarily an open deck brokerage. We often get these LTL reefer requests, and for example, we don't service them. So when I think about this, I think there's definitely a need for a company like FreshX. So it'll be exciting to have these guys on and learn more about what they're doing. So let's bring them on out, Clay and Lance.
All right.
Hey guys, happy Friday. Thanks for coming on.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Thanks for having us.
So I guess to start, you guys want to give us maybe kind of a background from kind of how you guys got into logistics, where you guys were at, and kind of telling the story how FreshX came about.
You want to go first, Clay?
Yeah, sure. So Lance and I met in graduate school about 3.5 years ago, I think. And we have different backgrounds, which we can get into, but we started off as a company in the last mile delivery space, as crazy as that sounds. And we were focused on food and beverage. We had a number of food and beverage customers we were piloting with. And we kept hearing about this thing called Reefer LTL from our customers. They kept saying it's a huge pain point. It was preventing some of the things that we wanted to do in the last mile space, just the lack of good options. And so we ended up pivoting and opened a freight brokerage for a brief period of time, focused on Reefer LTL, and then ultimately shut that down and decided to build the software product that we now saw a need for. So windy path, but we've been sticking it out through all the twists and turns for the past couple of years.
Yeah, you talk about finding a niche, opening up a freight brokerage for Reefer LTL. That's quite the niche. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. What about you, Lance?
Yeah, same. I had been, before meeting Clay, I had worked at different companies that were more consumer focused, and then I had been a shipper. I had started a little e-commerce company. It was like a COVID. It did well during COVID, and then it collapsed. And I was like, okay, supply chain, I'm into this. I want to get more into this. And then, as I like to say, with what Clay's saying, he and I were like, not to knock Clay, I like to say we were too stupid not to get into Reefer LTL, because we had these customers we were doing last mile delivery for in Chicagoland, and they were like, oh, I also got 2 pallets from New Jersey. Can you help me do that? And we were like, okay, we'll get our brokerage authority and how hard can it be? And it wasn't until later on where people were like, reefer LTL is just, that's like a no man's land. Like you do not want to touch that. But by then we were like, okay, wait, we think we have a good solution here. We've started to build out this carrier network. We think we could create something here that would be very useful to people. So
you bring up a good point, because I talk to brokers, and some of them say their brokerages won't allow them to touch reefer LTL just because it's so complicated and they can't find solutions. And then the problem with reefer box trucks, a lot of times it's a very high claim rate, and obviously it's more expensive than reefer LTL. So it's super cool you guys found a problem and then created a company based on it.
Totally. Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, Matt. And it's like there are the sort of aha moment for Claim Me was like, there's not a lot of carriers out there that do it. It's like, in the hundreds, not in the thousands, but they're the ones who do it, who are often quite under the radar, are very good at it. They're like a 3-generation business with a really low claims ratio that like has had the same driver base forever, says no to things. They're not desperate to take freight that they're going to screw up. And so they really know what they're doing. It's a complicated business to run. And it's like they're just under the radar and people don't know about them. So they think, well, it can't be done, or my pallet's going to get destroyed, or it's going to take 3 weeks. And it's like, well, that's not true if you can find the right folks to route the freight to.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of those things. Go ahead, Clay.
Yeah. And when we started, I mean, we had no freight background really, and we were like a couple of business school students calling up shippers and asking them to quote the reefer LTL, and we were kind of surprised how receptive they were to that. With how competitive the freight brokerage space is, they were like, sure, no one wants to quote a reefer LTL, and that was kind of when we realized that there was a need here. But ultimately we decided, you know what, maybe we don't sell this as a brokerage, maybe we just build software so that every freight brokerage can actually handle reefer LTL and they don't have to turn down the business.
That was something that we just like, we didn't know. So we were doing a lot of cold outreach to shippers, and we were saying refrigerated LTL. And we were getting a hit rate, like a good solid hit rate of people who were like, when do I use LTL? When should I use? Well, okay, what can you do about this? Let's talk and blah, blah. And Clay and I were like, yeah, this is how it goes. And then we just started to meet a lot more brokers, get more into the broker space. And then we heard it was like, shippers get inundated with they never reply. They're always getting bombarded. And we kind of thought, oh, that's interesting. We had a pretty decent hit rate because we were talking about this mode that the shippers want, but the brokers don't want, which is very unusual in our industry, given the imbalance of so many brokers trying to sell to shippers. So that's a good point to bring up. Yeah.
I saw, I think in your first year when you guys were up, you were posting about your traveling all over the country, meeting these reefer LTL carriers and getting them on board to make up a network. Was that one of the most challenging parts of first starting the business, or what were some of the hardest parts to getting this going?
Yeah, that was for sure. It was, Matt, because we're like 2 guys from nowhere that no one's ever heard of, and we got really lucky with some awesome advisors who know a lot of folks in the industry, like Matt Silver and Lars Ward. But we're going to these carriers and we're like, look, we're building this platform. We're going to help so people can find you and route freight to you. And it's just, they're like, what is this? What is this, a load board? Are you a broker? What is it? And so it was very difficult to just get them, kind of the early folks, to be bought in and understand, like, okay, I can see why this isn't something where I'm going to get fleeced somehow, or there's some catch here that I'm not aware of. But communicating it to carriers and learning to get them on board for sure was a challenge. It did take a lot of traveling around the country and meeting them at their dockyards and going to their offices. And, we found folks aren't stupid. It's like, once we were able to explain it well to them and show them what we were doing, then it's like they got enthusiastic. And we were lucky to have some early, really great carrier partners who helped us, build out the MVP and flesh out the value proposition.
You guys mitigate a lot of, if there are issues between like brokers and carriers on the platform, are you guys kind of like a middleman for like dealing with that issue? If like one of your LTL carriers calls you up and like, hey, this brokerage is a gigantic pain to deal with, or like, how do you guys like mitigate or do issues like that come up from time to time?
I would say just to clarify for anyone listening, that we're not a brokerage today. So we shut it down. Now we're a software platform. So all of we have a freight marketplace for reefer LTL, and all of the transactions are direct. All the contracting is direct, and we don't mark up the shipments at all. Now, when issues do come up, we're copied into the chains. We have a support email that's copied in. And so we are tracking everything, even though it's completely blowing up our inbox right now with all the loads going through. But we are tracking it all. And whenever something happens where maybe a carrier had a coverage area that wasn't accurate, we jump in. We try to problem solve. We connect the customer with other folks that might be able to help. So it's still early days of a marketplace, and so we're kind of brute force doing whatever we can to make sure things are going smoothly.
Yeah, that's right. And so we do, Matt. So as Clay just said, we do a lot of that. We do get involved if it, where we're like, hey, you got to answer that person. They're still waiting, or what's the deal? You said you could handle mushrooms, but now you're not going to be. Whatever. We are involved. It's not scalable, but we're getting it off the ground. One thing that's helped with that is we've been very picky about who can come and use the platform on both sides, because it's like, okay, if there's double brokers, or if there's folks who don't pay their bills, or if there's folks who maybe just they're on the carrier side, they don't do LTL well, or they're not used to it, or they don't have good references and background checks. It's like that can hurt our network health, which we really don't want. So we've grown a little slower by being pickier about who can come and use the platform, both on the demand side and on the carrier side. And I think that has actually made it a lot easier, where we don't have to get as involved, because it's folks who know what they're doing and are good, honest actors.
So it's only brokers that are on the platform. You guys don't have any direct shippers that are using it, the portal? Or
there is I believe there's a handful of legacy shippers. It's really primarily brokers who get the value out of this, though.
Yeah.
I think that's really smart what you guys are doing in that regard, because some of these big tech companies, you hear from drivers that their biggest complaint is that they're, brokerages that have fraud history or double brokers are on the platform, and then they get bad press, which, fraud's been a massive topic in the industry. So I think that was probably a really smart move to be picky kind of at the beginning, especially when you're, a startup, because one double brokerage company could, ruin several relationships. So
that's right. Yep. That's right.
Is it just you guys then right now, or how big is the team? Or it sounds like you guys you're growing rapidly. Are you guys starting to kind of expand on the team, or is it mainly just you two right now?
Yeah, it's us right now. We have 3 developers as well. So, but we're all kind of geographically distributed. We have some part-time folks helping out, but it's us right now. But we're going to be growing soon. We've gotten to the point where we can't really handle the inbounds between the two of us anymore. So we need to bring on some more sales folks to help us handle those new customers on the platform. So
It's a great problem to have.
Yeah.
It's Bob and Bobby and Samuel, our engineers. They're freaking geniuses. They're just like so fast, absolute killers. We got Eli, who are a couple of interns helping us. Jeff, who's an assistant. So we're mean and lean. It's like a small team, but pretty awesome talent on our side. It feels like we're a lot bigger because of the folks we've gotten on the team. So
you mentioned something cool too. You said most of your leads are inbound, so you guys aren't having to do much outbound to brokerage. A lot of it's just kind of spreading, through word of mouth in that regard.
Yep. Yeah, we've got I've got about 110 leads in the CRM, pretty much all inbound through our website. We've been posting on LinkedIn and stuff, and it's just getting customer referrals from each other. But it's pretty much spreading word of mouth. We haven't really invested too much time into outbound sales. Got our hands full with the inbounds right now.
That's fantastic. I mean, you think about the brokerage space. I mean, the brokerage space, very little inbound selling to shippers. So, I mean, to have a platform where you're getting, mainly inbound is great.
I think, and I kind of attribute that, I think, more generally to when we look to you guys really, and Matt, I say Matt just because I was aware Matt was seeing his stuff long before on LinkedIn, but it's like I would say the industry is quite rewarding and positive towards people who are like building in public and are like, hey, here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm working on. It's like you get a lot of good feedback. It's not a huge community, but it's like people are pretty invested and appreciate that transparency. So it's like it's a lot of LinkedIn, and it's a lot of following your lead, Matt, and being like, hey, here's what we're doing, and getting that kind of inbound and getting those conversations started just through LinkedIn.
I think people definitely see your stuff on LinkedIn. As I ran into a couple people at Manifest that knew you guys from LinkedIn. So it's definitely definitely working out there. What are kind of your guys's like long-term plans, or that sounds like you're looking to hire a sales rep. You guys, I guess, kind of what's in the future for FreshX over the next 6 months or a year?
Yeah, so we're releasing our API next week. So we've gotten most of our customers have asked us for TMS integration, and so the platform right now it's an instant quoting platform. So you can go on there, run a quote for reefer LTL across the U.S. and Canada, and we have 66 carriers all on the platform. We're adding more every week, but they provide instant price quotes to our customers, freight brokerages. And so the logical next step is to integrate with TMSs so that those teams can all get price quotes directly into their TMS, and it flows really nicely with their existing workflow. That's on the brokerage side. On the carrier side, we're starting to build tools so that carriers can better manage their rates and their coverage within our platform. So right now they're kind of hands off. We work with them to get them set up, but then they don't really log in. We have a really nice positioning now to help them build out better rating methodologies, get more insights into where there are gaps in the market for refrigerated LTL capacity and where they can expand. Maybe they're thinking about opening a cross dock in Oklahoma City. We can give them insights on how much LTL reefer freight is flowing through that area and how much potential volume they can capture. So we're trying to be a neutral third party that doesn't really have a stake and isn't really selling to shippers, and at the same time can help brokers and carriers operate more effectively, figure out how to get insights from rates and coverage and volume, and better serve shippers.
Yeah, I love what you said about the TMS integration. I think that's probably a big advantage. I don't know a whole lot about that space, but when I talk to my TMS friends, they usually say there's companies that come to them to integrate, but they don't have any of their customers on that TMS. And a lot of TMS companies won't integrate unless their customers are wanting it. But with you guys, growing and having so many customers, I imagine it's going to be an easier pitch for you guys getting TMS companies to integrate with you.
It's a great point, Matt. It is totally that. It's like the chicken and egg, where it's like you need customers who are using the product, and you want them to go to their TMS and be like, I want to integrate with these, but you also want to get integrated with the TMS so that customers can use your product. So how do you kind of make that work? We were pretty scared. I don't know, 6 months, a year ago, where we were like, are people just not going to use this because it doesn't plug into their TMS, and they're going to go, one more thing to log into and train my team on? Like, no, sorry, we have enough tools. We use, we're in Revenue, but whatever. This is where our tools have to plug into. We haven't found that's the case. I'm sure there's been a few companies, I'm sure, Clay, where they're like, come back to me when you're in my TMS. But for the most part, our customers have played ball. They've been like, yeah, ideally you're in my TMS. That's what I want to see. But right now, yes, I'll log in and use it and be on this platform. And so that's just been a positive thing for us as we get to that next stage of plugging into their TMSs.
Yeah, definitely.
And you take it a step further. The next step is TMSs, but down the line, it could even be the customer-facing portals that brokerages have, plugging right into those and just giving brokers tools to manage which carriers appear and play with markups, what margin they want to add on top, but feeding rates directly into those customer portals and selling through to their shippers.
Would you guys say, kind of in your profile right now of brokerages, you guys are mainly like the SMB, like small to mid-sized brokerages, or are you guys starting to make some headway into like the top 50, or do you guys kind of have like a target, ICP for brokerages, or it's brokerages of pretty much all sizes on there?
It's kind of all sizes. We thought it would be more correlated with the size of the brokerage, but we found that it's not necessarily. If you have the right kind of shipper, then it's valuable. And so if you have common commodities we see removing reefer LTL are like meat and poultry, dairy, juices and concentrate, beverages, like fresh frozen food and baked goods. So if a smaller brokerage is moving those kinds of things, it can be a fit, and it pays for itself pretty quickly if you're able to win a new customer in that space. A lot of our customers are using it for customer acquisition. So they're using it to go out to shippers and say, "Hey, can I quote some reefer LTL for you? I have this carrier network across the country." And if you're a smaller brokerage, that's actually a pretty powerful tool and a way to kind of stand out. Same time for a larger brokerage, it's also pretty valuable because now you can just hand this out to all your reps. And we've set up our pricing structure so it's based on aggregate firm usage versus seats. So you end up being able to, if you can spread out the cost through an agency or a larger brokerage, it can be kind of a no-brainer to get started.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. So it's not based on user; it's based on usage, which I don't know. You guys know way more about the tech community than me, but that's more of like a rarity for a lot of tech products are based on user, right? So it's kind of a unique setup, which is cool.
Yeah, and part of that is that it's kind of the TMS integration vision where we become more of an API product. So if we're APIing right into a TMS, then it's going to make a lot more sense to be usage based versus seat based. It's less of a pain to kind of figure out user authorization across the brokerage. Also, we've seen, if you have like 20 reps at a brokerage, the volume of reefer LTL demand per rep is going to be pretty like unpredictable month to month. It could be no volume one month, then maybe you get a big RFP and you have to run a ton of quotes. So if you spread that out across several reps, it makes a lot more sense as kind of like a subscription based product.
So what does that pricing look like? It sounds like it'll vary, right? But can you kind of talk about, I don't know, maybe starting price for just your average? So that example you use, they have 20 brokers. Can you kind of give us a range for what that looks like in real practice?
Yeah, it changes. I mean, we've honestly been iterating with the pricing structure since we launched. Right now, baseline, it's a few $100 a month is what they can expect to pay, and then that's spread out across the whole brokerage, and then it steps up with more usage.
If you want to buy more usage, higher tiers for your bigger brokerages, we're like, yeah, I know I'm going to blow through that amount. Let me go ahead and start on that sort of higher tier or enterprise level.
Yeah. So, I mean, when considering early on, when you guys were considering how to price this out, you mentioned you're not marking it up. What led to the decision to not do that, to almost operate it with just a markup built in as opposed to the subscription based cost?
We initially were proposing a transaction based model. Still not as a brokerage, but we were thinking, all right, we'll just take a cut on every transaction as like a rebate or something. And we learned that I think two things. One is that our customers get value out of just running searches. They get value out of booking freight too, but just being able to run searches and quote customers is valuable in itself. And so you want to correlate as close as you can to how much value you're creating for your customer. And then we didn't want to trap people in our platform and force them to transact a certain way. So we don't want our customers to have to book freight on our platform. If they find it more efficient to book one load on our platform and then set up a contract with a carrier, a weekly shipment, they're more than welcome to do that, and we don't have to try to like police that and try to make sure we're getting our take. And we see that happen a lot. We see a lot of times someone books one load, it works out well, and they say, "Hey, carrier, this worked well for the shipper. Let's set this up weekly or biweekly," and then they can just work directly, and that's totally fine with us. We want people to operate in the way that is most efficient for them.
Yep. And just to build on that, it's like by adding a margin, and as Clay mentioned, we talked about this for like months and went back and forth on like what makes sense here, how to do this. So it was not a simple, and who knows, do we have it exactly perfect? Probably not. But we believe when you add a margin to a transaction for a load, you do fundamentally insert yourself into the transaction. And so FreshX is like a player between the customer and the carrier. that isn't really what we want to be. We've been very decided that we don't want to be a broker. We want to be this trusted and neutral third party. We don't want to be in the transaction at all and kind of have skin in the game. And so how do we move away from that? It's by being a tool that allows us to yes, help brokers access this nationwide temperature controlled LTL network and drive a lot more business to our carriers, help them run much more efficiently, help them get more freight on their lanes. So how do we be that tool and be that platform that helps that happen without being in the transaction and having a kind of incentive one way or the other? And we figured this is the best way to do it.
Yeah, that's great. So I don't know much about the Reefer LTL game, so forgive me. But with regular LTL, right, so you have tariffs per se. So if I were to reach out to one of your Reefer LTL carriers and request a quote as opposed to going through FreshX, would that rate look the same? Are they getting discounted at all? Or is the value really in pulling all those refrigerated LTL carriers that nobody knows? I probably wouldn't be able to find them, right? Exactly, which is a value FreshX provides, but the pricing itself, is there any differentiators there?
Yep. If it's, I guess there's a couple questions baked in there and good questions. On the pricing side, the pricing will for a lot of the carriers, you're going to get a cheaper rate on FreshX. Not all of them. Sometimes if you pick up the phone and call them, you'll get the exact same rate. I think in some rare cases you might get a lower rate depending on if you kind of sell them a little bit and say it's going to be a recurring thing. Here's what I'm bringing to the table. For a lot of folks, we found the pricing is at least a little bit more competitive on FreshX. I would also say, what we've kind of found, Will, is you can, even you're a flatbed guy, it's like Reefer LTL is a foreign country. You would, if you figured, okay, I've got this Reefer LTL freight coming out of Savannah or coming out of, Boston or whatever, you would be able to find some provider options. You certainly could. You'd Google it, you'd figure it out. It's a question of like, can you find all of them? Can you find the folks who are best for that lane, who are best equipped for that lane? Can you sift through the people who are like, well, actually, this isn't a great provider for it. They're not really established in the LTL space. Can you get instant rates and do it quickly and and see what the estimated delivery date is? That's sort of where we come into play, is that speed of access and network visibility.
Yeah, I mean, to me, go ahead. Let me interrupt you, Clay.
Yeah, if you think about here's a fun data point. So for every quote that goes through the platform, 10% of the quotes end up turning into a load. And so that means that if this was happening off the platform, carriers would be quoting manually 10 emails for every one that turns into a load. And so we're cutting that completely out. Now they don't have to quote any of them. It's just they get loads sent to them pre-quoted. So is the carrier going to charge more if they have to quote 10 emails to win one, or are they going to charge more if they just get them automatically sent to them pre-priced? And so that's why they find it more valuable. Also, on pricing, carriers have the ability to set customer-specific discounts on our platform. So if they start moving a lot of volume with a customer, and that customer invests in building a relationship with the carrier, then they'll start applying those discounts on the platform.
Yeah, I was going to say, even if the rates weren't different, just the opportunity cost, the time, right, to pull up them. We got Alex joined. He commented, hi, Lance, Clay, joined late, so sorry if it's already been covered. He's got a question for you guys. He asked, many Reefer LTL carriers don't do certain commodities. Are certain commodities prohibited on the platform?
Great question. Alex is the man. Thanks for tuning in, Alex. Everybody check out RVN, great company that he runs, and Expedite All on the dry side. Not that I know anything about dry freight, but to the question, we don't. The only thing we don't do on the platform today, because our carriers don't do it. There's a possibility we will in the future. Tends to be hazmat. That's something our carriers stay away from. I want to say 98% plus of the freight that's moved on the platform is food. Is food, and 100% of it's it can ride with food. So we don't touch hazmat. More specifically, I think to the point Alex is getting at is within food. All right, there's a ton, or food and bev, a lot of commodities there, alcohol, cannabis infused products, fresh seafood, etc. All these things where ice cream, produce, where it's like, okay, not every carrier is going to do that. Not every carrier should do that. The way we adjust that is, first of all, we gather that information from our carriers. What products will you not touch? Will you exclude? They tell us. And then in our portal, when someone is entering a load in to get quotes and to get carrier options, they indicate the commodity. So they will say, this is fresh seafood, for instance, which is notorious because, it's stinky and it can't ride with a lot of other products. It can't be commingled because it'll make everything smell. That's going to filter out all of the carriers who have told us, no fresh seafood, I won't move it. So you can save the time. You're not getting fake rates for carriers who won't actually move that commodity. So that's how we handle it. It's a good question.
No, it's interesting because I was thinking this whole time that this platform has got to be most valuable to brokers, just like you said, with the new opportunities. But hearing some of your points, I mean, carriers must really be in love with this because they don't have to quote 10 times to only get one shipment. The marketing for some of these reefer LTL carriers, a lot of brokerages have no idea how to find them. I would think business is booming for a lot of these reefer LTL carriers that are using your platform. Basically, you're giving them free marketing and a awareness to touch. I mean, I would think that maybe, I'm not sure if the feedback is even on both sides, but I can't kind of go back and forth through this conversation of who's getting more benefit from this, the brokers or the carriers.
It's the question that if you can't figure that out, then we're doing a good job. That is totally the vision, Matt. It's like it's if there's 200 carriers out there who do this and do it well, we want first of all, we want all of them on our platform. We also want all of them to be happy and healthy as carriers and to be making a good margin and getting their freight. Because if there's not 20,000 where you can blow through them and burn them, and if one goes out of business, oh well, or you wreck that relationship, it's like we can't afford to do that, even if we didn't care. So we want it to be bringing a ton of value to these carriers. They're very specialized. We want it to be driving a lot of value for them. But to your point, what we're talking about, and we had to do it when we were brokers, that thing where you blast out 5 or 10 different carriers with rate requests for your freight. That's the kind of thing that does fray relationships, because it wastes everyone's time. Nobody wins from it. The broker has to ignore 9 different carriers and say, sorry, it got covered. Sorry, or just ignore them. And so if we can reduce that, yes, we save time and money for both sides of the transaction, where people are actually just connecting on the freight that they can move together.
Yeah. We've also another fun data point. We've heard this from multiple sources that roughly half of the loads that should be going reefer LTL are going on full trucks. So loads that are 6 frozen pallets or something gets put on a full truck because it's too hard for a broker to find an LTL option. And so that's been a pretty big selling point for carriers, and something that's really excited them is the pie can be a lot bigger, and we can help grow the pie with this. And so that's something that they're pretty excited about. I mean, they're winning new customer business on the platform every day.
Yeah, I love the concept that you're talking about with the pie, right? What it seems to me that FreshX is doing is you're building value as opposed to looking in and trying to claim value. So the pie is getting bigger and there's room for everybody. It's kind of again, from my understanding, uncharted territory, a platform like this where you're connecting everything, and it's a win-win-win, right? You guys win, carrier wins, broker wins. So bullish on FreshX. That's fantastic.
You guys brought up the couple pallets going on a full truckload. Maybe this is a dumb question, but I just think my number one customer as a broker was frozen fresh seafood, and they supplied to Costco. And a lot of times last minute, they would only have 2 pallets, and they couldn't go reefer LTL because of the time frame. But the biggest issue ran into with reefer box trucks is the claim rate, and the vetting on them is very, very difficult. Do you guys have any plans maybe in the future get into the box truck space at all in the reefer box truck world, or is that you're just mainly focusing on just the LTL side?
We think there's definitely a world for that, for sure, Matt. Again, LTL has been our specialty, but you're right. The time pressure where you're like, this needs to deliver by end of day tomorrow or the day after. It's LTL, because there's the consolidation. Some carriers can do it. They'll be in the right place at the right time. We do get a lot of interest in expedited. That's one of the things actually Alex that we're speaking with Alex about, and we think there is certainly room for that. If you can vet and bring a high quality carrier base to the table to handle that freight, then yeah, we think there's interest. We do think there's value, especially with harder commodities like fresh seafood, 2 pallets. How are you going to do this if this has to deliver quickly? That's clearly a use case where expedited is the right thing if you can find the right provider to handle it.
Yeah, but what like Clay said too is right, spot on. I mean, the cost of doing a full truckload for 2 pallets is way more than doing a reefer box truck. Just the risks for the box truck and the vetting is way different than a full truckload.
That's right.
If you can be that broker as well, if you approach a shipper who's doing that, paying full truckload for 4 or 6 pallets, there's probably a lot of room between the full truckload and the reefer LTL. So you can save them a lot of money and then expand your margins quite a bit. Not to be that guy, but there's probably a lot of opportunity there for brokers if and when pitching this.
Totally. Yeah, the original inspiration here, by the way, back when we were a broker, was there was a food company out of the San Francisco Bay Area who told us like 4 times, "Can you help me? I'm sending a truckload down to LA multiple times a week with 4 pallets." And Clay and I were still operating as a carrier, and we were like, "Sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. We can't help with that." And then finally we were like, that's weird, man. Like, you're sending a truckload with 4 pallets on it multiple times a week. That's just seems wrong. What can we do here? Clay actually has a great story, if you don't, Clay, just to put you on the spot. When we talk about so much of this freight moving as full truckload could be LTL and should be LTL, he had an example of someone who was well, anyway.
Yeah, we had, I think I know what you're talking about. So a couple of weeks ago, I was demoing a broker, and he was trying to move 5 frozen pallets from Washington State, seafood, Washington State to Chicago. And he looked around, he couldn't find anything. Looked all around Washington State area, thinking he'd find a reefer LTL carrier up there that would go to Chicago. There aren't any, but we ran it through FreshX, and we found an option that was $2,000 cheaper right away. And he had already booked the full truck, but the carrier is Badger State Western, and they're a Midwestern carrier that's fantastic. They run chilled lanes out to the West Coast from Abbotsford, Wisconsin, and then they run frozen backhauls from Washington back to the Midwest. And so as a broker, you're never gonna think to look for a carrier in Wisconsin. You're going to look around with like the source where in Washington State. And so that's the kind of like lack of visibility into the underlying operations and freight lanes of these carriers that exist today that we're trying to solve.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great point. That's exactly what I would look for. I'd look in Washington State. I would never think to look in Wisconsin or the Midwest. Well, I guess one question, maybe a little off topic, but how's your guys' workload? You guys, it sounds like just the two of you guys, 110 inbounds. It sounds like you guys are working, 10, 12-hour days? What's the average work week look like for you guys with how busy you guys are?
Yeah, good question. Man, with Manifest, I feel like Manifest took a big bite out of productivity. We work a lot. I know Clay does. I see we're on Slack, and we're always answering emails, fielding emails. We just had someone, one of our customers, Clay, was answering some of their questions early on Saturday morning. Early for me, I'm in Pacific time, and the customer replied and said, "Damn, Clay, do you ever take a day off? Do you ever relax?" And I was thinking to myself, no, not really. No, we're hustling. We're working a ton. There's late nights, there's early mornings. We're across 4 time zones, I suppose, actually, with Mountain Time. So, yeah, we're putting a lot in.
With tools these days, I mean, with like AI tools just for like workflow automation, like we use like HubSpot as a CRM, and we've used all their automations and their little AI co-pilot and stuff. So you can get a lot done with a lot fewer people these days. And like our product, I mean, we had 2 full-time developers, and we built the whole thing in like 2 months after we raised money. So it's I mean, we had to build the network up for like a year before that, but you can get a lot done with fewer people now. And so we're leveraging tools as much as we can.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned investors. This must have been a product that investors are very interested in, because I think I was talking to Lance in Vegas, but you guys really don't have any competition, at least none that are well out there. So you guys kind of have a niche. It's not like other tech companies where there's 20 people in the space fighting for everything. I've got to imagine you guys have, got a lot of interest from investors.
Yeah, it was so a lot of investors don't know what Reefer LTL is. Yeah. So there's a lot of education. It's kind
like
of
a lot of people in logistics.
Yeah. First, we did have we pitched a lot of investors, and in the beginning, a lot of them were just like, I don't know anything about this. I don't know how to think about this as an investment. So it ended up resonating the most with investors that have portfolio companies that are in the food and beverage space, who hear their customers complain about this all the time in board meetings. And so they were like, okay, we know this is a real problem. we've heard about this over and over again, and so it worked out really well for them.
Yeah. At University of Chicago and the Chicago ecosystem was we got lucky. You know, they were great to us. But yeah, with Clay's, it was like a Goldilocks thing. It was like investors were like, I don't know either. They were like, I don't know enough about supply chain, and this is just, or I have had some bets go bad, and I'm staying away from this. That's happened with folks, and we started fundraising. I think right when Convoy, rolled over, and then other folks who are just too big were like, Reefer LTL, it's tiny. This is a weird little I don't know what you're talking about. This is never going to go anywhere. And then there's like that sweet spot, like Clay's saying, especially with food a lot of awesome angel investors who were like, this is cool, I get it. And then folks who have invested in food and bev who are like, oh yeah, this is an issue. I completely understand the use case and the value here.
And there's like different types of investors. Like there's different like archetypes. There's the investors that look for just like a really big problem solution area. Maybe it's just like AI powered CRM or something, and you can sell it to like every business in the country or the world. And we're much more of a like vertical SaaS play where we have a very pointed problem solution. And it's our strategy is to build a marketplace and create network effects, and then use that to build more things on top of it. But you need the right investor that has that mindset. That's okay investing in a smaller problem solution today if it creates a really strong sticking point and able to quickly build traction in the market.
Yeah, I think it's powerful that you guys what you're describing, right? It's very clear what you're building. If it was a AI powered CRM, you're selling to everybody sometimes, which I don't know. I don't have experience in that or getting investor money, but kind of changing what you're focusing on or pivoting, right? But it seems like you guys from inception to now, you had a clear problem, a solution, and then you've got a roadmap for things that are going to be value adds as well. And it's I think it's powerful when a company has a very clear mission and there's no confusion about what we're trying to accomplish or what areas we're attacking. It's this is the goal, and everybody can be aligned.
Yeah, I agree. And investors definitely, that resonates with them. And I would also say I think the industry helped us out and had our back here because, again, like Matt Silver, Lars Ward, just awesome folks who we said, look, these people are advising us and they clearly think we are onto something. That makes people go, okay, well, let me take a look here. And then having, kind of letters of intent and support from different folks in the logistics space who are like, look, these guys are working on a real problem that we believe in. And being able to show that to investors gives credibility where they're like, okay. And, so that was just a big leg up from the industry. So.
Yeah, we had Lars on last week. Great guy. Right. Lots of knowledge.
Yeah, Lars, fantastic. Yeah.
Where can people find you? What's the best way to reach out to as we kind of wrap up? What's the best way for people to reach out to? Is it through the website, through LinkedIn, email? Someone's listening and they say, hey, I'm interested in this, FreshX product. What's the best way for them to reach you guys?
Get freshx.com, LinkedIn, Clay Curran, Lance Hackney. We can post our emails in here. We're pretty easy to find, but I think our phone numbers are also floating around the internet. Although that, maybe don't bot. Give me a call. I'll answer. But yeah, LinkedIn, getfreshx.com. Those are the easiest ways to get a hold of us.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you guys joining us. It was very educational. It's very impressive what you guys have done, and we're excited to tune into the FreshX journey. Again, I'm bullish on you guys, so I'll be tuned in. We'll be rooting for you guys, and we'll have to circle back in a few months and see what else you guys have accomplished and keep tabs on it.
Awesome. Yeah, this was super cool. The feeling's mutual, by the way, because the podcast is taking off, and it's just awesome what you guys are doing. So thank you, Matt. Really
appreciate you guys, tuning in, and like I said, like Will said, we're bullish on you guys, and I'm sure I'll see you guys at another conference. We'll be in touch, and have a great weekend.
Here. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. That was fun, man. I learned a lot. I mean, I know you're more in the flatbed space, but I was more in the reefer space as a.
Well, I might be trying to get the reefer LTL space now.
Well, I mean, what they're saying is 100% accurate. I mean, nobody wants to quote reefer LTL. Like even for shippers that do reefer truckload, I mean, it's a great way to like sell and get yourself into a shipper, because a lot of brokerages don't know how to do it, won't touch it. I think they got a great product and just great guys too.
Yeah, I mean, for me, again, primarily open deck brokerage, but maybe we want to get more in the reefer space. And what Clay had said, right? Okay, let's go to refrigerated customers and ask to quote reefer LTLs, get in the door that way. And I'm sure there's some healthy margins there if not a lot of people are doing it. So yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity. They're building a lot of value. So yeah, I really enjoyed that episode and like what they're doing over there at FreshX.
Yeah, 100%. Well, shout out to Multi-Service Fuel Card, been around since the 70s. They got some new stuff launching. They have fuel cards for brokerages as well. Black Box, Will's Company, HD Ships, where I recruit agents for. Load Base, we see Stan here in the comments. Stan, we did do the pricing question a little bit. They have a really unique pricing model. But yeah, Load Base, very unique tracking. Will just did a demo of it. They're one of the few that you can pinpoint within seconds. You don't have to wait 10, 15 seconds. Loadbase.com. Check them out. Sales Dash CRM, Freight Specific CRM. Josh is great, our dog of the week. And brought to you by Taft's, top 10 factoring company out of Kansas City. Great rates, great people, great customer service. Reach out to Ryan or Rob. And we got a new thing going on. We're going to announce here soon, but we're working with the Broker Carrier Summit. We're going to have some codes coming out. If anyone's looking to get a discount on that, go to that. So
awesome. Well, that'll do it for this week. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Check out the pages for updates on next week's episode and the new dog of the week.
Yeah, have a good weekend.
You too. I'll see you.
All right, see ya.